I actually found this application 4 days before the deadline on Christmas Eve of 2011. As soon as I read the description of what the course was, I knew that I absolutely had to be there.
It was an application that seemed interested in my life experience rather than just my academic or professional experience.
Es increíblemente larga.
You're probably thinking to yourself, it's going to take me more time to fill out this application than it took Gandhi to make his famous salt march to the sea in India.
Yo creo que el proceso de solicitud, la aplicación de solicitud para la Escuela de Periodismo en sí mismo, sí te deja un aprendizaje.
Al Giordano and the Narco News team were asking me questions that were very unusual.
I felt like they were questions that I'd been waiting for someone to ask me or that I was excited to answer.
The application is long enough that it really tries to get a sense of who you are from several different angles, and I think that has a direct parallel to the way that any of us who apply to the school approach journalism. I don't necessarily think that before I filled out the application I had a sense that there was a larger study of civil resistance, that there was more of a history to it, that it was something that people looked at both in a broader sense but also in a more practical sense to figure out what works and what doesn't work. That there was more than individual movements, that when you put them together you can look at the things that they have in common and discover how to do it better.
To actually say, put yourself in the position of an organizer. What do? You know? The application was like giving me the authority to imagine a scenario.
Fue, creo que la primera vez en la cual yo vi en un solo documento o en un solo discurso los nombres de, digamos, la relación entre el periodismo y los movimientos sociales o las luchas de resistencia civil no violenta.
I realized that reporting and social movements were very intertwined.
Había una pregunta que ponía, ¿cómo podría este movimiento haber comunicado mejor interiormente dentro de sus propios miembros sus metas y sus objetivos? Y yo, por ejemplo, siempre daba por hecho que los miembros de un movimiento no necesitan comunicación interna, o sea, la comunicación debe siempre ser externa hacia las audiencias o los otros ciudadanos. Pues esta pregunta me hizo de verdad preguntarme sobre cómo funcionaría una comunicación interna. Yo ni sabía que esto existe.
Me cambió la idea completamente de cómo se debería de llevar a cabo una cobertura y me hizo entender, y después la escuela me hizo comprobar, que los movimientos sociales deben de ser también sus medios. Los movimientos sociales deben de crear a sus propios medios.
We want you to realize when you look at the application that the fate of social movements is actually pegged to the media that movements make about themselves and that allies of those movements make about those movements.
You know, I remember the months in between when I filled it out and when I actually found out that I'd been accepted, and I think that if nothing else, the application introduced me to a new way to think about movements of civil resistance and journalism and the way that they relate to each other.
Definitely made me think of journalism in a new way. It was all about, do I have the potential to write stories that could help make social movements grow? And that was, to me, a really new concept that I had never heard of before.
La manera en que un medio cubre el movimiento puede ser determinante en la victoria de este o en la derrota definitiva.
I think that anybody who's interested in having a better picture of how civil resistance can be successful and what you can learn from studying other movements, or as a journalist, learning how you can cover those movements more honestly and more authentically, should want to do this, should pursue the application.
Así que a llenarla.